There's a certain type of woman who lives rent-free in a Scorpio man's mind, not because she tries to, but because she can't be easily understood, controlled, or forgotten. This isn't about being the most beautiful woman in the room. It's about presence, mystery, depth, and a kind of emotional power that Scorpio men both crave and fear. For the next hour, we're going to unravel what makes this woman so unforgettable, what she says and doesn't say, what she awakens in a Scorpio man that no one else can. We'll explore her emotional profile, her energetic frequency, and the unconscious reasons Scorpio men obsess over her long after she's gone. This is more than a compatibility guide. It's a psychological, astrological, and energetic blueprint of the woman who becomes his fantasy, his mirror, and sometimes his undoing. So, if you've ever wondered why a Scorpio man keeps circling back to you, or if you want to understand what kind of woman breaks through his emotional fortress, keep listening. This is The Woman Scorpio Men Obsess Over, a 1 hour deep dive. Chapter 1, The Magnetic Feminine Energy. There's a certain kind of woman Scorpio men never forget, and it has nothing to do with her looks. It's not the way she dresses, not how many people want her. It's her energy, that subtle force that can't be faked, that quiet presence that walks into a room and doesn't need to say a word, yet somehow he feels her. She doesn't try to be magnetic, she simply is. This kind of woman isn't always the most talkative, the most flirtatious, or the most visible, but Scorpio men feel her deeply because her energy doesn't seek attention, it holds it. She's grounded, rooted, still. She carries herself like someone who's not waiting to be chosen because she's already chosen herself. That self-possession is what captures a Scorpio man because while he's often consumed by emotion, desire, and control, she moves differently. She's not reactionary. She doesn't need to prove anything. And that creates tension, the good kind, the kind that makes him lean in, look closer, want to know more. She isn't mysterious because she's playing games. She's mysterious because she lives in her inner world, and not everyone gets access to it. She reveals herself slowly, not out of manipulation, but because her emotional layers are sacred. You don't get to know her just because you want to. You earn it. That's what Scorpio men respect and crave. Because let's be honest, Scorpio men aren't looking for surface level connections. They're not built for lighthearted flings that mean nothing. Even when they pretend otherwise, their hearts are wired for depth. They want to merge with someone, a soul to soul. And the woman who holds that level of emotional gravity, she knows how to sit in silence. She's perceptive, not performative. She doesn't fill space with noise. She lets energy speak for her. There's something calming about her. Not because she's emotionless, but because she doesn't lose herself in every emotional wave. She has likely known pain. She's familiar with transformation. And yet she moves with grace. Scorpio men pick up on that. They can feel when someone has depth, when someone has survived, and when someone has done the inner work. This woman doesn't have to talk about her strength. She is strength, the kind that's soft, slow burning, and quiet. And when he looks at her, he wonders, how much has she seen? How much has she felt? Why does she feel familiar but unreachable? That's the kind of energy that lives rent-free in a Scorpio man's psyche. Not because she was the loudest, but because she was the one who didn't chase him. She moved like she didn't need him, and somehow that's what made him need her. In the next chapter, we'll go deeper into the psychology of this woman, her mindset, her boundaries, her emotional makeup, and why, no matter how much time passes, she stays with him. Chapter 2, Psychological Profile of His Ideal Woman. Understanding the woman who captures a Scorpio man's heart means looking beneath the surface into her inner world, her mindset, and her emotional blueprint. She's not easily impressed or swayed by flashy things or empty words. Instead, her mind is sharp, her emotions layered, and her boundaries clear. This woman is emotionally intelligent. She senses undercurrents, the things left unsaid, the moods hidden behind smiles, the tensions simmering beneath calm conversations. Scorpio men admire this kind of awareness because it mirrors their own complexity. They live inside their emotions but often keep them locked away, unsure who to trust with their vulnerability. The woman he obsesses over isn't desperate for attention or validation. She isn't easily rattled or overwhelmed. Her emotional self containment draws him in like a quiet anchor. She holds space for herself and for others, especially for the darkness Scorpio men carry inside: jealousy, intensity, and the fear of being broken. Rather than reacting or running from these emotions, she meets them with calm resilience. And that's why he feels safe enough to let his guard down around her, even if just a little. This woman knows pain and transformation firsthand. She's been through her own fires and come out with a kind of soft strength. She understands that growth often comes through struggle, and she's willing to face her own shadows. Scorpio men aren't interested in partners who shy away from the messy, complicated parts of life. They want someone who can stay present when things get dark, someone who doesn't flee when emotions intensify. Her boundaries are firm but flexible. She knows when to protect her peace and when to extend grace. She isn't controlling or manipulative. Instead, she values autonomy, both hers and his. Scorpio men need to feel they aren't being trapped or suffocated. The woman he desires gives him space without withdrawing affection. This balance is rare because many people either smother or disappear, but she holds her place, steady, unwavering, and calm. There's also an enigmatic quality to her. She's not an open book and she doesn't reveal herself all at once. Her layers unfold slowly over time, inviting curiosity and fascination. Scorpio men love a challenge, but it's not about playing games or manipulation. It's about respect for the process of truly getting to know someone, piece by piece, depth by depth. She is self aware enough to hold her own emotional needs without overwhelming his. She understands that intimacy is a dance, not a takeover. This psychological profile creates a powerful pull. He sees in her what he often can't find in himself: emotional steadiness, quiet strength, and a profound respect for privacy and mystery. In the next chapter, we'll explore how these traits translate into emotional and spiritual compatibility, what makes her feel like home to a Scorpio man, and why that feeling is so rare and precious. Chapter 3: Emotional plus Spiritual Compatibility. When it comes to love, Scorpio men aren't just searching for a partner, they're searching for a soulmate. This search goes beyond physical attraction or shared interests. It's an emotional and spiritual journey where compatibility means something deeper. Emotional compatibility for a Scorpio man isn't about constant happiness or lighthearted fun. It's about resilience, the ability to stay present through storms. Many people shy away when emotions get raw or uncomfortable, but a Scorpio man wants someone who can sit in that space with him without fear, without judgment. She's like a safe abyss, not shallow or fleeting, but deep and endless. A place where he can let go of facades and reveal his authentic self, including the parts he keeps hidden from most. Spiritual compatibility also plays a powerful role. Scorpio is a sign of transformation and rebirth. Ruled by Pluto, the planet of endings, beginnings, and soul level growth. The woman who aligns spiritually with a Scorpio man understands that life is a cycle of change. She embraces the darkness as much as the light. Together, they move through life's mysteries, pain, healing, and evolution as partners on a profound journey. This woman doesn't fear the intense emotions Scorpio men experience, such as jealousy, possessiveness, or the urge to control. Instead, she sees these feelings as part of the human experience, complex, messy, but ultimately understandable. She meets him not with rejection, but with steady compassion and boundaries that protect both their peace. Emotional resilience means she can navigate his moods and intensity without losing herself. She knows when to engage and when to give space. This balance creates a container where Scorpio men feel safe enough to be vulnerable, and vulnerability is everything for them. This woman knows pain and transformation firsthand. She's been through her own fires and come out with a kind of soft strength. She understands that growth often comes through struggle, and she's willing to face her own shadows. Scorpio men aren't interested in partners who shy away from the messy, complicated parts of life. They want someone who can stay present when things get dark, someone who doesn't flee when emotions intensify. Her boundaries are firm but flexible. She knows when to protect her peace and when to extend grace. She isn't controlling or manipulative. Instead, she values autonomy, both hers and his. Scorpio men need to feel they aren't being trapped or suffocated. The woman he desires gives him space without withdrawing affection. This balance is rare because many people either smother or disappear, but she holds her place, steady, unwavering, and calm. Chapter 4, Astrology Breakdown. Astrology gives us a powerful lens to understand the pull between Scorpio men and the women they're drawn to. While Scorpio sun traits tell part of the story, emotional intensity, mystery, and loyalty, the full picture comes alive when we explore the other key placements in both charts. Scorpio men tend to be deeply attracted to women whose Venus or moon signs harmonize with their own emotional language. For example, Cancer and Pisces moons or Venus placements often create an almost psychic bond, a nurturing, intuitive connection that feels both safe and electric. Cancer, ruled by the moon, offers Scorpio a tenderness and protective nature that resonates with his inner vulnerability. Pisces brings spiritual depth and compassion, helping soften Scorpio's more guarded tendencies. Capricorn and Virgo, earth signs ruled by Saturn and Mercury, can also magnetize Scorpio men, providing stability, structure, and practical wisdom to balance Scorpio's emotional currents. These earth signs embody the grounded presence Scorpio admires: calm, reliable, and emotionally self sufficient. Beyond signs, the house placements and aspects deepen the connection further. Venus in the eighth house, the house of Scorpio's secrets, transformation, and intimacy, can indicate karmic ties and soul level magnetism. Similarly, strong aspects between a Scorpio man's Pluto and a woman's personal planets often reveal an intense gravitational pull that feels fated or destined. These cosmic dynamics reflect the desire for intimacy, control, and merging that define Scorpio's relationships. The Scorpio man's natal chart often points to a yearning for connection that goes beyond surface level attraction, a desire to merge souls to be truly known and understood. That desire can be complicated. Scorpio's need for control can clash with the freedom a partner craves. But when the stars align in compatible ways, this tension becomes a dance, a powerful, transformative exchange that challenges and elevates both partners. Astrology doesn't just explain who Scorpio men are drawn to. It reveals why those connections feel so intense and inescapable. In the next chapter, we'll hear real life stories and examples of Scorpio men obsessed with certain types of women, what they remember, what they long for, and why those women become impossible to forget. Chapter 5, Who He Can't Forget. What makes a Scorpio man obsess over a woman? It's rarely the obvious things, not just beauty or charm. It's something deeper, often intangible, that etches her into his memory and soul. Scorpio men are known for their intensity and focus. When they fixate, It's because something about that woman stirred a part of them they didn't know existed, or maybe a part they feared to face. Often, the women Scorpio men can't forget are those who embody emotional availability wrapped in mystery. Women who are deeply present yet hold parts of themselves back. They might be quietly powerful, the kind who command respect without raising their voice, or emotionally unavailable in ways that both frustrate and fascinate him. That push and pull, the chase and retreat, triggers Scorpio's primal instincts. It creates an intense craving to break through the barriers and be fully seen. Real life Scorpio men often tell stories of women who changed their world with a glance or a simple gesture. Women who seemed to understand them without explanation. These women leave marks, not just on their hearts, but on their very identity. Scorpio men sometimes fantasize about the idea of being cracked open, not by just anyone, but by her, the one woman who sees past all defenses and meets them at their rawest. But this fantasy is double edged. It requires vulnerability that Scorpio men rarely offer freely, and it asks for trust that takes time to build. The woman he can't forget may also be the one who rejected him or who remained emotionally distant. That absence can make the longing even more intense, fueling obsession. It's the mystery of what could have been or what might be that haunts Scorpio men. But sometimes it's simply the resonance of a soul connection, a recognition on a level words can't reach. These unforgettable women often challenge Scorpio men to grow, heal, and confront their own shadows. And even if the relationship ends, the impact lingers. In the final chapters, we'll explore what drives Scorpio men away from these women and how that intensity can sometimes backfire, um, pushing the very person they desire out of reach. Chapter 6: What pushes her away? Intensity is Scorpio men's signature. It fuels their passion, loyalty, and desire. But that same intensity can be their undoing when it comes to the woman they crave. What pushes her away isn't just the obvious, like jealousy or possessiveness. It's the subtle erosion of trust and freedom that can creep in over time. Scorpio men often feel things deeply, but they don't always express those feelings in healthy ways. Paranoia, suspicion, and control can sneak into the relationship, creating walls where bridges should be. The woman Scorpio men obsess over values her inner freedom above all else. She wants to be loved but never caged. When his intensity becomes controlling or invasive, she feels trapped rather than cherished. Emotional manipulation, even if unintentional, can be a deal breaker. It chips away at her sense of self, making her question her worth and autonomy. Scorpio men can sometimes test boundaries, pushing to see how much she'll take or how far she'll stay. But this testing can backfire, making her pull away instead of lean in. Another turnoff is when his insecurities lead to constant questioning or accusations. She wants trust, not interrogation, and yet she understands his fears, the fear of abandonment, betrayal, or being hurt again. But understanding isn't the same as tolerating behavior that diminishes her. She needs she needs a partner who can manage his emotional storms without pulling her under. Someone who can balance passion with respect, intensity with patience. When that balance is missing, she may feel exhausted, overwhelmed, or emotionally depleted. The downfall comes when Scorpio men mistake possessiveness for love, thinking that holding tight means caring more. But love isn't about possession, it's about mutual respect and freedom to be oneself. Ultimately, the woman Scorpio men obsess over is also fiercely independent. She won't stay where she feels controlled or diminished. She'll walk away, and not because she doesn't love him, but because she loves herself more. Recognizing these pitfalls is crucial for Scorpio men who want lasting love. In the conclusion, we'll recap the traits of the woman who captivates Scorpio men and why true connection is about energetic alignment, not control or obsession. Chapter 7: The Evolved Scorpio Man and His Ideal Partnership. Not all Scorpio men are the same. While the Zodiac gives us a blueprint, each Scorpio is shaped by his experiences, growth, and choices. Many Scorpio men start their journey grappling with intense emotions, control issues, and fears of vulnerability. Some settle for relationships that feel easier or less threatening, often with partners who are bubbly, compliant, or less challenging. These partnerships might bring comfort or stability, but often lack the depth Scorpio secretly craves. But there is another kind of Scorpio man, the evolved Scorpio. He has faced his shadows, wrestled with jealousy and control, and learned to sit with his vulnerability without fear. This man is no longer driven by neediness or fear of loss. He seeks partnership as a sacred exchange between two whole individuals, not as a way to fill a void or assert dominance. The evolved Scorpio man is drawn to women who choose themselves first, who bring their own power, wisdom, and emotional sovereignty to the relationship. He respects a woman who holds her boundaries with grace and stands firm in her identity. With her, he can be real, imperfect, vulnerable, and fully seen. Trust, for him, is no longer about control. It's about mutual respect and deep emotional presence. This partnership is less about obsession and more about soulful connection. It's a dance of energies, intense yet balanced, passionate yet calm. And while this kind of relationship demands effort and self awareness from both partners, it offers transformation, healing, and profound intimacy. The evolved Scorpio man understands that love is not possession, it's freedom shared. And in that freedom, he finds the deepest form of connection. For those watching who relate to Scorpio's intensity or who have Scorpio men in their lives, this journey toward evolution is possible. It begins with self awareness, emotional work, and a willingness to embrace both light and shadow. Chapter 8: When She Disappears, the Aftermath of Losing Her. A Scorpio man may never admit it out loud, but he feels loss more deeply than almost any other sign, especially when it's her, the woman who saw through him, who met his intensity without fear, and who chose to walk away. It's not just that she's gone, it's that she left with no noise, no chaos, no final plea, just silence. Scorpio is used to power dynamics. He thrives in them, reading energy shifts, sensing emotional cues, staying 5 steps ahead. But when she disappears without trying to hold on, it unravels his inner world. Her absence is louder than any fight, more jarring than any breakup, because she didn't just leave his life, she left his energetic field and that he feels in his bones. In the beginning, he might pretend he's unbothered. Scorpio is a master of concealment. He'll carry on, keep his face calm, even laugh with friends. But behind closed doors, something has shifted. He replays their last conversations, remembers the way she looked at him, wonders if she meant it when she said goodbye. He doesn't grieve like others, he obsesses quietly, secretly, constantly. This isn't about romance anymore. It's about control, or rather, the loss of it. Scorpio men don't easily accept that someone could slip through their grasp by choice, that someone could love them and still leave. Her silence becomes a mirror reflecting his deepest fear that she saw all of him, the shadow, the wounds, the vulnerability, and decided he wasn't ready, and yet he watches. Not always visibly, not always directly, but energetically. Maybe he checks her page from a distance. Maybe he reads into her absence, imagines what she's doing, who she might be with. Even if he never contacts her again, she lives in his mind, not as she was, but as a symbol of what he lost, of what he couldn't control, of what he couldn't keep. What's most haunting isn't that she left, it's how she left, with grace, with boundaries, without feeding the drama. The women who scream and beg, he forgets. But the woman who simply vanished, self-contained and sovereign, she lingers because she didn't leave in a moment of weakness. She left in her strength. Her value only increases in her absence. Scorpio begins to remember her differently. The way she held her space, the way she didn't flinch when he tried to provoke emotion, the way she didn't need to be chosen to know her worth. She becomes unforgettable. Not because she demanded to be, but because she never tried to be remembered at all, and while he may never reach out, may never speak her name again, she becomes part of his transformation, a silent catalyst, a quiet ghost, a mirror of the man he couldn't become at the time. And though he might move on, though life may continue, part of him always wonders, what if I had been ready? Because the truth he guards so closely, even from himself, is this: he didn't lose her because she lacked love. He lost her because she loved him with clarity, and he wasn't ready to receive it. Chapter 9, The Power of Her Silence, Why No Contact Shakes Him to His Core. Silence isn't just the absence of words, it's the presence of power. And for a Scorpio man who thrives on emotional depth and unspoken tension, silence from the woman he once shared a bond with isn't neutral. It's deafening, it's haunting, it's unforgettable. This isn't the silence that comes from apathy or indifference. This is the kind of silence that speaks, that screams even, but without raising a voice. The kind of silence that says, I see everything and I owe you nothing. And that's what disturbs him most. Scorpio men are drawn to control, to emotional feedback, to the push and pull of connection. They're used to feeling out the undercurrents, even when no one else senses them. But when she goes silent, completely silent, he's no longer sure what she feels. That uncertainty eats away at him. Is she over him? Is she hurting too? Is she punishing him? Or did she simply let go? He scans for signs, anything to confirm he still has a hold on her. He becomes hyper aware, fixated. Silence turns into a riddle he feels compelled to solve. The more still she becomes, the louder his mind gets. The silence she holds doesn't just withhold affection, it withholds access. And that drives him into psychological overdrive. Scorpio doesn't fear confrontation. He fears invisibility. He would rather be hated than forgotten, because hatred means there's still a flame, still energy between you. But silence is extinction. It tells him she no longer reacts to him, because he no longer holds power over her. And that truth, whether he accepts it or not, crushes the part of him that believed he was unforgettable. He may act unbothered. He may even post, flex, or perform, but underneath it all, there's a desperate hope that she's watching, that she's just as affected, that her silence is a tactic, not the truth. But the most unnerving thing, it's not. She's really gone. She's really quiet, and she didn't look back. There's something undeniably feminine and devastating about the woman who chooses peace over proving her point, who walks away with her dignity not because she's weak, but because she's done. Scorpio men may be known for their intensity, but even they can be humbled by a woman who masters emotional detachment. In her silence, he begins to feel his own emotional noise. The voices of his past wounds, his suppressed vulnerability, his fear of not being enough. Her absence forces him inward, where all his unresolved emotions live. And still, he can't stop watching, because silence from someone like her isn't empty. It's full of meaning, full of lessons, full of power. It's the kind of silence that breaks a man open or makes him numb. But either way, he'll never forget how loud it was when she said nothing at all. Chapter 10, His Jealousy and Possessiveness. Even when she's gone, even if she's gone, even if she's blocked him, deleted her photos, and moved on with her life, there's a part of the Scorpio man that still feels like she's his. Not in a literal romantic sense, but in a deeply energetic way. Once he's marked her with his attention, Once he's merged with her soul, even briefly, she becomes a permanent thread in his inner world. And the thought of her being with someone else, it unsettles him, it stings, it ignites something primal. Scorpio jealousy is unlike any other signs. It isn't loud or theatrical. It doesn't always come with confrontation. It's private, it's silent, it sits under the skin and simmers. The idea that she might now be laughing with someone else the way she once did with him, showing her softness to another man, revealing sides of herself he once thought were just for him, that's the kind of betrayal he feels without ever saying a word. This is where his possessiveness truly reveals itself. Because even if he walked away, even if he took her for granted, even if he was never fully hers, a Scorpio man often believes she will remain emotionally tied to him. And when she detaches and begins to thrive elsewhere, it bruises the deepest part of his ego, the part that thought he was unforgettable. It's not always about love. Sometimes it's about territory. The woman he couldn't control becomes the woman he tries to monitor from a distance. He might not reach out, but he watches. He imagines. He wonders. And the images his mind creates are often more torturous than the truth. He might convince himself she's doing it on purpose, posting that picture to provoke him, sharing that quote to sting, but most of the time she's not. She's just existing. And her happiness without him triggers the belief that he's been replaced, that maybe um, she's found someone who gives her what he couldn't. That thought alone can spiral him. Because once a Scorpio man feels replaced, it's not just jealousy, it's identity collapse. In his mind, no one should ever touch her soul the way he did, not even if he was the one who let her go, even if he's committed elsewhere, even if years have passed, this emotional possessiveness can linger. He won't talk about it. He might not even fully understand it, but deep down, there's a haunting knowledge she slipped out of his grasp, and someone else might be holding what he once held. This is the shadow side of Scorpio's loyalty. It's not always healthy. It can morph into obsession, resentment, silent punishment, not toward her, but toward himself. Because jealousy for Scorpio is rarely about surface level envy, it's about power. It's about being seen as irreplaceable. And when she lives like he never existed, that illusion shatters. Still, he may never say a word. Scorpio men often believe that watching from the shadows keeps them in control. But truthfully, it only deepens the ache. Chapter 11, her mystery versus his control, the inner tug of war. She doesn't try to be mysterious, she simply is. Not because she's hiding anything, but because she doesn't reveal everything. She moves with intention, she speaks with care. She's emotionally present, but never fully available for dissection. And to a Scorpio man, this is both irresistible and infuriating. He's drawn to mystery like a moth to flame, but what he truly wants is to solve it. Scorpio men have an investigative nature. They don't just observe, they probe, they penetrate, they want to know you fully, deeply, completely. And yet, when it comes to her, something remains just out of reach. It's not that she's cold, it's not that she plays games, it's that she's whole without being decoded, and that drives him crazy. Scorpio men equate knowing with control. If they can understand your wounds, your patterns, your vulnerabilities, they feel safer, they feel closer. But when she won't let him all the way in, when she keeps sacred parts of herself untouched, he starts to wonder, what is she hiding? Why can't I get deeper? What is she protecting? But here's the twist. She's not protecting herself from him. She's protecting her own power. She knows that not everyone deserves unrestricted access. She knows that depth isn't about revealing everything. It's about discernment. And her refusal to unravel on command is what keeps her centered while he starts to lose balance. The Scorpio man will test her. He'll provoke subtle reactions, bring up intense topics. Watch her face when he speaks. He's looking for a crack, a slip, a moment where her control falters. Because in his mind, if he can unmask her, he wins. But what he doesn't realize is she's already unmasked. She just doesn't feel the need to explain herself. And that is the ultimate loss of power for him. Not because she's deceiving him, but because she's not performing for him. The dynamic becomes a quiet tug of war. She isn't playing hard to get. She simply isn't his to possess. And for a Scorpio man used to emotional dominance, this is where obsession begins. Not because she's cruel, not because she withholds love, but because her existence challenges his sense of control. She becomes the one woman he can't figure out and can't forget. Because while others gave everything up front, she gave what was earned. While others crumbled under his intensity, she stood still, calm, unmoved. This isn't about mystery as manipulation. This is mystery as sovereignty. And that's the woman who haunts him most, not the one who played games, but the one who never needed to. Chapter 12, His Fantasy Life. The woman he replays in his mind long after she's gone, long after she's blocked his number, deleted the thread, and closed the chapter. She lives on in his mind. Scorpio men don't let go the way others do. They archive, they store, they replay. But not just what happened or what could have happened, what should have, what he wishes had. Even if they never reach the full potential of what could have been, the Scorpio man builds entire stories in his head about her. Scenarios where she comes back, conversations where he finally says what he couldn't say then, nights where they fall into each other like nothing ever broke. This isn't delusion, it's preservation. Scorpio doesn't forget, and when someone awakens him deeply, emotionally, or sexually, he tucks her away somewhere sacred, not to revisit daily, but to revisit intensely. In his fantasy life, she's still emotionally open, still his. He remembers her laugh, her scent, the way her energy used to shift when she let her guard down. Even the things she didn't do, the boundaries she kept, the mystery she held, become part of his obsession. Because fantasy doesn't need closure, it needs fuel, and she left plenty. Meanwhile, in his day to day life, he might be with someone else. He might seem moved on, stable, available, but in his emotional basement where no one else is allowed, she lingers because she didn't beg, because she didn't explain, because she left before he ever had the chance to complete the story. And so he keeps writing it in his head. Sometimes his fantasies are sweet, drenched in longing, in what ifs, in warmth. Other times they're laced with bitterness, punishment, even revenge. He wants her to feel him even if she never speaks to him again. In his mind, he's still in contact with her, even if she has no idea. What makes it worse is that Scorpio is loyal in his longing. He doesn't replace easily. He might explore new bodies, new relationships, but the imprint she left isn't shallow, it's cellular. Because for Scorpio, fantasy isn't about escape, it's about possession, and sometimes he feels like the only place he can still have her is in his mind. But the more he visits this private world, the harder it is to return to real life. No one else compares, no one else feels as alive. And it's not because she was perfect, it's because she got away while he still wanted more. In his quiet moments, at night while driving in the stillness between tasks, she flickers back in. Not with a message, not with a call, just a feeling. A flash of her presence. A line she once said. A song that sounds like her. And suddenly she's back in the room. Not physically, but emotionally, and maybe in some corner of his mind she'll never leave. Because she didn't just pass through his life. She entered a part of him that rarely opens, and then disappeared. And that, for a Scorpio man, becomes the perfect storm. The woman who unlocked him and left before he could lock her down. Chapter 13, The Woman Who Mirrors His Shadow. She didn't just touch his heart, she touched something older, something buried, something he thought no one would ever reach. The woman Scorpio obsesses over is never just a romantic figure. she becomes a reflection of who he is and who he's not yet ready to become. Scorpio is a sign of extremes, of light and shadow, power and surrender, destruction and rebirth. And the woman who triggers his deepest obsession is rarely soft and safe. She's real, complex, and above all, she mirrors him, not through imitation, but through energy, through presence, through the way she sees right into him and doesn't flinch. At first, this draws him in. Her depth feels familiar. Her solitude matches his. Her calm intensity makes him feel understood, maybe for the first time. But over time, he begins to feel something else: discomfort, irritation, restlessness. Not because of what she says, but because of what she reflects. She holds a mirror to the parts of himself he hasn't healed: his control issues, his fear of being vulnerable, his need to dominate before he can be seen. And the closer she gets, the more exposed he feels. Not because she's trying to expose him, but because she lives in truth. She doesn't flinch at pain. She doesn't need to be controlled. She doesn't shrink to be chosen. She is her own force, and that threatens the parts of him that still depend on power games to feel safe. Scorpio men are drawn to shadow work, but not all of them are ready to face it. The woman who embodies her own wholeness, who has also suffered, unraveled, rebuilt, confronts him with a terrifying possibility that he is still hiding. She becomes the unspoken challenge to evolve, not through pressure, not through words, but simply by being who she is. In her presence, he feels the weight of his own defenses. In her silence, he hears the echoes of his unprocessed grief. In her emotional sovereignty, he senses how much of his power is still rooted in fear. And so, he resents her. He romanticizes her. He pulls her in only to push her away, because she represents what he wants and what he fears. She awakens his longing, but also his resistance. She makes him feel deeply and reminds him how much he's numbed. And yet, even if he can't stay, he can't forget, because the woman who mirrors his shadow isn't just a lover. She's a turning point. He may try to replace her. He may run from her, but something in him knows. He didn't just lose her. He lost the chance to become who he was meant to be. Chapter 14, Fate, Karma, and Meant to Be. His fixation on destiny. Scorpio doesn't fall in love. He spirals into it like a soul being pulled into a karmic orbit. When he meets a woman who changes him, shakes him, disrupts his emotional equilibrium, he doesn't chalk it up to chance. He feels it in his bones. This was meant to happen. It's not just attraction, it's recognition. He believes he's known her before, in another place, another life. The moment their eyes locked, something ancient stirred in him. As if she wasn't new, she was remembered. This is how Scorpio processes deep emotional impact, through the language of destiny. And when he can't make sense of his obsession rationally, he wraps it in spiritual meaning. He sees signs, symbols, synchronicities. Her birthday matches his mother's. She messaged him at 11:11. He saw her name while checking out at $9.99. They met at the wrong time, yet it felt right. Over time, the universe feels like it's conspiring to remind him of her. To Scorpio, this isn't coincidence, it's confirmation. Even if she walks away, even if he never gets the relationship he imagined, he still believes she was sent to awaken something in him, or that he was meant to transform through the loss of her. The fixation isn't just on her, it's on the meaning of her. This is why he can't fully let go, because the story doesn't feel finished, and Scorpio doesn't do unfinished stories. He will replay every moment, dissect every silence, analyze every song lyric she ever posted, searching for deeper truth. He doesn't just miss her presence, he misses the cosmic weight she carried, the way she made him feel like his life wasn't random, that his soul had a trajectory, that some people show up to change everything. This obsession with fate can blur the line between connection and projection, because sometimes it's not that she was meant to stay, but that she was meant to wake him up. Sometimes the karmic tie isn't about union, it's about evolution. But for the Scorpio man still tethered to hope, this feels unbearable. He clings to the belief that maybe one day the timing will be right, that destiny will realign, that the unfinished chapter will write itself again. He won't say it out loud, but in the quiet, between distractions, he still checks the signs. He still listens for her name in conversations. He still feels like, yeah, this isn't over, because in his world, love isn't linear, it's cosmic. And she was never just a woman, she was an omen. Chapter 15, The Woman He Can't Replace, Why Her Energy Haunts Him. Some women leave quietly, others leave residue, and for the Scorpio man, a deeply intuitive, emotionally penetrative soul, energy doesn't just vanish, it lingers, especially when the woman who walked away was unlike anyone he's ever known. This woman didn't need to chase. She didn't beg for attention. She simply was, full in her essence, emotionally intelligent, deeply aware of who she was and what she would or would not tolerate. And while others may have fawned or played roles, she held up a mirror. For a Scorpio man, that kind of energy is unforgettable, not just because it's rare, but because it touches something ancestral in him, something primal. He felt her essence in a way that made everything else feel like static. Even if they didn't have a deep physical relationship, her emotional fingerprint is stamped on his psyche. She became the exception, the one who didn't fall, the one who resisted even when the pull was undeniable. And the more he tries to replace her through casual connections, emotional distractions, or even commitment elsewhere, the more frustrated he becomes because the replicas don't hum with the same frequency. They don't challenge him, they don't match him. This isn't about ego, it's about energetic imprint. Scorpio, as a fixed water sign, absorbs deeply. And if she pulled away at her highest point when she was grounded, aligned, untouchable, that's the version of her he'll always remember. Even if she's long gone, her boundaries, her silence, and her refusal to fold become louder over time. They haunt him not as punishment, but as a lesson. A reminder that he had access to something rare and he couldn't master it. That's the paradox for Scorpio. The more powerful the woman, the more she marks him. And if he loses her, her ghost doesn't fade. It sharpens. He may not speak of it, he may pretend to move on, but deep down, her absence becomes sacred, a space he can't refill. Because in truth, it wasn't just about her, it was about what he saw in himself when he was near her, the way she brought out his potential, the way she held him accountable, even without words. She wasn't just the woman he wanted, she was the woman who awakened something in him, and that is not something a Scorpio man forgets. Chapter 16, The Woman He Tries to Recreate But Never Can. After she's gone, a strange thing happens. The Scorpio man, so composed on the outside, begins a quiet chase. Not of her exactly, but of her echo. He doesn't always realize it. He tells himself he's moved on. New faces enter his life, some even carry similar traits. Her calm intensity, her depth, the way she seemed to see through him without flinching. But deep down, he knows it's not her. Because what made her unforgettable wasn't just what she did, it was how she was. Her silence spoke volumes. Her eyes didn't seek approval. Her energy demanded nothing, and yet lingered in every room long after she left. With her, he didn't just feel attraction, he felt exposed. Not in a threatening way, but in a way that made him want to grow, want to be more, and that's what haunts him. She didn't try to change him, she simply saw him, and he felt it. And now, no matter how hard he tries, he can't recreate that feeling with anyone else. He tries to fill the space with distractions, with new connections, with attempts to mimic the bond, but none of it holds. Because he's not searching for a woman, he's chasing a frequency. What he really misses is the mirror she held up, the reflection of who he could have been if only he had met her in his healed form, if only he had been ready, if only he had believed he deserved it. But that kind of woman, she doesn't linger, she doesn't circle back. She doesn't become an option once the timing is convenient. She becomes the myth he tries to recreate, and the standard no one else can reach. Chapter 17, The One Secret He'll Take to the Grave. There are some truths a Scorpio man will never say aloud, not to protect others, but to preserve the sacredness of what he felt. Even when the feelings were real, even when the timing was perfect, even when he thought about her for months or years after, he still might have never said it. Maybe he brushed it off, told her it wasn't that deep, um, pulled away, got cold, played it off like it was a passing attraction. But inside, it was that deep. And now that he's alone with it, he guards it like a hidden shrine in his mind, untouchable, unreachable, and wholly his. That's the thing about Scorpio men. They don't always express the truth in real time. Instead, they store it, they bury it like a seed beneath the surface, letting it grow wild in their imagination while keeping it locked away from the outside world. Even years later, he may still think of her, not with regret, but with reverence, a what if so powerful it becomes part of his internal mythology. And yet, no one will ever know the full story. Not his friends, not his partner, maybe not even her. He keeps it because it's the one thing that made him feel that deeply. And even if he walked away, stayed silent, or chose someone else, the memory of her remains untouched, idealized, and emotionally charged. This isn't a case of romanticizing the past out of boredom. It's his way of owning a feeling without risking the pain of losing it. To Scorpio, some emotions are too potent, too raw, too personal to be offered up casually, and once they've been locked inside, they become part of his soul's architecture. So if you ever felt something electric between you and a Scorpio man, but he never spoke it aloud, there's a chance that truth is still alive within him. Not forgotten, just sealed. It may never be known to the world, but to him, it's the one secret he'll take to the grave. Chapter 18, Why He'll Never Find Her Again. There's a moment, not loud, not theatrical, when it sinks in that she's really gone, not just out of sight, but unreachable. For the Scorpio man, this moment doesn't usually come right away. It builds quietly after the obsession phase, after the strategizing, after the silent check ins, the dreams, the symbolic synchronicities that once made him feel like she was still there, somewhere, watching. At first, he believes the connection is still alive because he can feel it. He thinks that alone gives him time. He misreads her silence as emotional overwhelm, not detachment. He assumes she's healing, not moving on, because how could someone like her just leave? But she did. And not because she didn't feel anything, but because she felt everything. And she knew that staying would only fracture the very dignity she worked so hard to rebuild. Scorpio men don't forget easily, and when they finally recognize what they lost, especially with a woman who impacted them emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically, the realization hits like a psychic burn. Why? Because she wasn't just another chapter, she was an inflection point, a woman who showed him the mirror. She didn't beg, she didn't explode, she didn't claw her way back in. She simply walked intact, resolved, and sacred, and now no one else compares. Not in silence, not in arguments, not in moments of intimacy. Others may be warmer, louder, easier, or more available, but not her. Not that mix of strength, softness, and mystery that made him want to become a better man, and simultaneously terrified him. The reason he'll never find her again isn't because she's playing a game. It's because women like her don't stay where their value has been misjudged. She felt the depth, but she chose herself. That moment she walked away was sacred, a final act of self-trust. And though he might try to recreate her, through memory, through other people, through obsession, it won't ever be the same. Because she didn't leave a hole, she left a lesson. And he will spend years, maybe lifetimes, searching for someone who makes him feel that way again. But he won't. Not because he doesn't deserve love, but because you only meet a woman like that once. Closing chapter, The Unforgettable Alchemy, Why She Changed Him, Even in Her Absence. By now, we've explored the deepest corners of the Scorpio man's psyche, his intensity, his magnetism, his fears, his passions, and the type of woman who not only draws him in, but alters him on a soul level. From chapter 1, we began with the magnetic feminine energy, that indescribable essence that pulls him in without effort. This isn't about appearance or performance, it's about presence. The kind of woman who doesn't chase, but attracts, who isn't desperate to be chosen because she already is within herself. We followed that current into chapter 2, where we broke down the psychological profile of his ideal woman, one who is not just emotionally intelligent but sovereign. She's not a fantasy he projects onto. She's a reality he can't control, yet deeply craves to understand. And in chapter 3, we uncovered the hidden layers of emotional and spiritual compatibility, what truly makes a Scorpio man stay. Beyond looks, beyond lust, beyond surface chemistry. It's about resonance, a woman who makes him feel spiritually seen and emotionally safe, even when he fears both. In chapter 4, we explored the astrological breakdown of his core desires, from his Scorpio sun's need for transformation to his moon sign's emotional wiring and his Venus sign's love language. We saw how the stars mirror his struggles and desires, revealing the kind of bond that feels written in the cosmos. Then came the unforgettable one, chapter 5, where we met the woman he can't forget. She is not the loudest, she's not the most available, but she lingers not because she tries, but because she mirrors the part of him that wants more, even when he's afraid to claim it. And what happens when she starts to pull away? Chapter 6 revealed what pushes her away. The mind games, the need for control, the emotional inconsistency. This kind of woman doesn't stay where her value isn't recognized or where her spirit is dimmed. She leaves, not as punishment, but as preservation. Chapter 7 then gave us a glimpse of the possibility, the evolved Scorpio man who does the work, who transforms his obsession into devotion, his fear into presence, his control into trust, who no longer seeks to consume her, but to walk beside her. But sometimes it's too late. In chapter 8, we saw what happens when she disappears, the psychological, emotional, and even spiritual ripple that occurs in his inner world when her energy is no longer accessible. It's not just silence, it's a loss of mirror, a void that no other can fill. And in chapter 9, we examined the power of her silence, how her absence becomes louder than words. It destabilizes his control, cracks his ego, and calls him to confront the very thing he's always avoided, himself, which led us to chapter 10, his jealousy and possessiveness. Even when she's gone, he feels a psychic tether. His mind spirals with thoughts of who might be near her now, not out of love, but fear of replacement. Fear that she may never return, fear that someone else will love her right. But here's where everything begins to crystallize. This entire journey, her presence, her departure, her silence, her standards, becomes his catalyst for transformation. You see, Scorpio is a sign of death and rebirth, of cycles ending and new selves emerging. And often the woman who triggers that cycle isn't the one who stays. She's the one who walks away with grace and leaves a trail of awakening behind her. She doesn't need revenge. She doesn't scream to be heard. She simply exits, and in doing so, says everything. For him, her disappearance is never clean. It echoes. Her voice, her laugh, her boundaries, her essence. They haunt him in the most sacred way, not because she punished him, but because she loved him without abandoning herself. And that kind of love is unforgettable. So, what's the takeaway? It's that no matter how complicated the dynamics between a Scorpio man and this rare, sovereign woman may be, the impact is lasting, even if they never speak again, even if he never admits it, even if she's already moved on. She becomes part of his mythology, the what if, the almost, the I wasn't ready, the she saw me. Because at the core of every Scorpio man is the desire to be fully known and the terror of what that might cost. And at the center of every evolved woman is the knowing that her energy is not meant to be possessed. It's meant to be respected. So, whether you're the Scorpio man watching this or the woman who feels like she's been in this story before, let this be a mirror. For the men, ask yourself, did you love her in a way that made her feel free? Did you see her as an equal or as an extension of your ego? And for the women, know this, you do not have to dim your truth to be desired. The man who is meant to meet you at your depth will rise. Because love, real love, isn't about power, possession, or fear. It's about freedom. It's about growth. It's about transformation, the very thing Scorpio was born to do. And sometimes that transformation doesn't come from the woman he keeps, it comes from the one who got away. This series has been such a meaningful one to create. It's been powerful to dive into these complexities with you, not just in a surface level way, but really sit with the gray. And I want you to know this is just the beginning. There's so much more we can cover. The Scorpio psyche is layered, and so is yours. We'll keep exploring. Until next time, thank you for listening, for being open, for choosing depth in a world that so often skims.